Nostra fam, Dicko, welcome back.
Hang on, mate.
Another episode, round three, done and dusted. Moving towards round four, Dicko. Before we get into it, let's recap the week that was. Obviously, the massive news of DCE last night.
hmm
What's your initial thoughts on that?
My initial thought was a bit shocked, I must admit.
Mm.
I don't sort of know what to make of it.
Any inkling on where he might be going?
Um, well, if it's a monetary decision, I feel like it'll be either the Roosters and or the Dolphins.
Yep.
Sentimentally, probably the Dolphins, or if he wants to stay where he's living currently, it'll probably be the Roosters. So it'll. To be honest with you, I actually feel like he'll retire personally.
Mm. Yeah, I'm interested to see the backlash that comes from it. And I don't think it's warranted because he's been at the club for 15 years, achieved absolutely everything possible in the game.
Hmm.
He's still, in my opinion, at the peak of his game.
Hmm.
He's
He'll be the
done it
top three,
before for
top three
Queensland.
halfback in the comp. Yeah,
He'd be undoubtedly the number one halfback in the comp right now.
yeah.
Right now. If you were to pick a standout performer over the first 3 weeks, yeah, look, he'd be right up there. But hey, look, stay tuned because there's plenty more developments with that story, I reckon.
Yeah, well, it's believed he's not going to be rushed into a decision, so we may not get one for a few weeks yet, but
He
there'll be a
has
lot of
backflipped
speculation.
before.
He has. He has. He's got
Yeah,
form.
that's it. Now, shout out to our sponsors, High Caliber Racing, Create, Grip Socks, and Energy Pro. Thank you very much for your support, guys. Couldn't do it without you. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to a massive 2025. We've got a few big announcements coming up over the next few weeks, so stay tuned for that. A lot of positives going on in the background for NRL Nostradamus, uh, centered around and including Magic Round, Vegas next year. There's a lot of things going on, so keep your eyes peeled for that.
Mm.
Now, Dicko,
hmm
round three, first game, Storm Panthers 30-24 in Storm's favour. What did you make of that match? It was definitely an interesting opening 10 minutes.
Yeah, so my initial thoughts was in the first, 20 or first 14 minutes, I think it was 14 nil
Mm, mm.
to Melbourne. So I thought they dominated pretty much the first 20 minutes of the match. But then for some reason, after that 20-minute mark, I thought it was all Penrith.
Mm.
I thought Melbourne stopped playing. They dropped the ball a lot. They got a bit complacent, and I have no doubt that it coincided with Cleary being taken off the field and subsequently ruled out of the game. I felt
Yeah.
like they just thought it was just going to come a little easy. And credit to the Panthers. And we say this all the time: good teams will always stick around. They weren't just going to drop the bundle and whatnot. I thought it was a breakout game for a few of the young Panthers players.
Mm.
And it was almost like the pressure when they came on, the pressure was then just off. No one really
Yeah.
expected Penrith, I don't think, to win when Cleary goes off the field. And it was just like they had no Edwards. And it was
Yeah.
just like, you know what? Let's just go out there and let's just throw caution to the wind, play a bit of footy, see what happens. And it almost got them a win, to be honest.
Yeah. Very. I mean, as a Panthers, you know, diehard, it's quite bizarre because you watch them play the Roosters the week prior and come out almost like the Storm did against them.
Yeah.
Or at least that preceding, sort of 70 minutes of footy. I think you've nailed it, really. I couldn't have summed up better myself. I It's more beneficial for Penrith than it was the Storm, that match, in the
Mm.
sense of confidence, because Jerome Hughes is now out for a couple of weeks.
Oh, it was carnage in terms of injury front. You got Nelson. Nelson, I think, is going to miss a few weeks. Nick Meaney's out. Cleary will miss a game. So it's carnage for both teams in terms of injuries.
Yeah, I'm really interested to hear the preview and who you think is going to win, because you are coming off a perfect round. Now let's make note of that,
Thank
people.
you.
Dicko has
Thank
jumped
you.
from the bottom of the pile all the way up to second place, one win off the top. That
Just this.
is
It
that
was a
is
slow
how
start.
volatile this tipping competition
It,
is.
it was a slow start, but I'm in now.
I can't remember where I am. I don't want to talk about it.
Just look down the bottom, mate. That's where you are.
So, uh, Oh, geez. Note to self: when you're on a perfect round, don't go for upsets and go for the Eels, because that's what happened. Um, Roosters lost to the Warriors
Mm,
14-6 Friday
mm,
night,
mm.
and the Broncos got the job done against the Cowboys. Now, I actually thought these two games were arguably the better two games of the round. They were close. They were from a neutral perspective.
Yeah, interesting.
I
Okay.
thought they were actually they weren't the best quality
Yeah, they were both
games of
very scrappy
football,
games. They were both very
but
scrappy.
like we said, round 1 and 2, you know, some teams were clinical, some teams were poor.
Mm,
I mean, you thought that the Roosters Panthers game was great from a neutral perspective because it was
mm.
close, but
Yep.
from a Penrith perspective, it was
It was terrible.
disastrous.
Yeah,
Like
it
it
was
was an
terrible.
absolute disgrace.
Mm, mm.
I am quite disappointed by the Roosters' performance,
Yep.
and I'm quite impressed by the Cowboys. I think the
Mm,
Broncos were actually okay. If they didn't have Reece Walsh playing fullback, they probably win this game by 40
mm.
because
Another Reece Walsh hater here.
no, I actually think he's one of the best players in the game. He just is in, and it's not a rut. He is
He's lacking a
trying
bit.
too hard.
He's lacking a bit of confidence. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. Look, I don't know. Is he trying to play his way out of that confidence though? Like, what's because it
Yeah.
doesn't look like he's not confident when he's trying all these fancy things.
So I was listening to one of the
Um,
radio programs actually on the way
mm,
to work the other day, and they were saying that last year he had Adam Reynolds on the right hand side, plays predominantly right. You know, halfback and 5'8", they play one side of the field,
yep.
and Ezra Mann was playing the left side of the field. But last year, Reese was able to run the left side of the field, so he was able to overcall Ezra. And because Ezra's really not a ball playing 5'8", he's a runner. He's a runner of the footy, right?
Yeah.
So Reese is the ball player.
Yep.
So this year, all of a sudden, you've got Adam Reynolds who runs the right hand side of the field and ball plays, and then you've added Ben Hunt, which is a completely different player to Ezra Mam, right? He's not a running 5'8". He's a ball playing 5'8". So that where does Walsh then fit into this? And I think that part of it is he's just not quite sure how his game fits in. Now, if it was me coaching, it would be a simple message. Reese, I just want you to follow the ball. Just support. If you're not
Yeah.
within 2 meters of Payne Haas every time he runs the footy, we're going to have a conversation
Yeah. You
during the
don't
week.
need to worry about coming up with the miracle plays or creating all these extra chances because we've got Ben Hunt there now.
Apart from Friday night when he threw the loop pass to Jesse Arthurs who scored in the corner, every try down Brisbane's left hand side, the last pass has pretty much been thrown by Ben
Yep.
Hunt. He's the
Yep.
ball player, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's just simplify Walsh's game, and I think once again we're forgetting he's what's he 21, 22. He's
Yeah.
still really young. He's yes, there's a few errors, but for all the great things he does, we've just got to accept the fact as supporters and as lovers of the game that he's going to make mistakes.
Look, it's a scary prospect for the Broncos because they're in a good way. They're playing not the greatest at the moment.
Mm.
Quite clunky, new coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go as far as to compare the Broncos team this year to Penrith last year. I don't think Penrith can win the comp this year.
Mm.
The Broncos, in my opinion, are the favourites to win the comp. In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they're building nicely. I mean, there's a lot of flaws in the game at the moment.
Yeah, and when they click, look out.
I mean, I'm a Brisbane supporter, so I'm going to sit here and defend the players. What I will say about Walsh is I would prefer to have a Reece Walsh in my team who makes a mistake and then is working so hard to rectify that than
Yep.
somebody that makes a mistake and then you go missing for 5 minutes and doesn't want to touch the footy. A bit
Absolutely.
like the Canberra fullback on Sunday night. He
Yep.
dropped the ball a few times, led to tries, and then was unsighted, right? Walsh, I feel like is trying really hard to make up for those mistakes, and sometimes, as you said, trying a little bit too hard. Defensively, Brisbane were excellent. I thought across the game they defended their line well, and that is a result of the fullback. You know how important Dylan Edwards is to Penrith,
Yep.
and the great fullbacks organised their defensive line, perfectly. Pappenhausen with Melbourne, and I thought he was excellent.
Yeah.
We're all looking for the Reece Walsh running 30 metres
Well,
and
they're
beating
the things you
players and
don't
stuff.
see, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're the things you don't see, and if he can continue to do that, the other stuff will come. I don't have
Yep.
Some errors are costing the Broncos, but I think we're just going to have to live with that.
Yeah. A little bit brighter for the Cowboys too, who have obviously bounced back in some way. They've shown a little bit of ticker, I think is probably the most important thing for them right now. They've had a tough start to the year. There's no doubt about it. And their next few rounds don't look that much better. I mean, they play the Raiders, then they play Penrith.
The drums are beating, mate. The drums are beating in Townsville.
Yeah,
they are beating loudly.
Look, I think if the players show fight, that's a good sign, and I think they definitely did that on Friday night. I think what I more want to talk about is the Warriors and how well they've bounced back. Because
they were awful
looking
in
at
Vegas.
round one, I had them in my top 8.
I still have them in my top 8. I still think they'll win enough games.
They've got a game this week against the Tigers, which is a winnable game, and then they go on a bye. So they could literally be, come round 6, 8 points and firmly cemented in the top 4. Because if you look at the ladder right now, there's only 2 teams, bizarrely, that have won all their games. Which is, we're in round 3 and there's only 2 teams that have done that.
Yeah, the comp is close.
And you see these, ridiculous scorelines. Hypothetically, let's take the Warriors have been belted by Raiders. Raiders have then gone and belted the Broncos.
Yeah.
Penrith have lost to bloody...
It's whoever turns up. It's whoever turns up on the night.
And then the Warriors have beaten the Chooks and the Broncos belted the Chooks.
So we will continue to see, and it's a tipping nightmare, right? We will continue to see teams that we think are going poorly beat teams that are going well. Like the Lord Roosters got belted by the Broncos by 50 and then come out and beat the Penrith,
Well, do you know what? There was one point there in the game that we're about to talk about now, Sharks and Rabbitohs, where I thought it was going to be 50-60-0.
Yeah.
And to the Rabbitohs' credit,
they hung in there.
27-12. Mate, they get Latrell Mitchell back in 2 weeks' time. They get Ewan Aiken back in 2 weeks' time. They get Alex Johnson back in 2 weeks' time. Tyrone Munro comes back into the side at some point. All of a sudden, hello, Rabbitohs.
No chance.
You don't think they're going to be top 8?
No.
Tell you what, if they come up with a result against Penrith without Cleary...
It's about being able to sustain consistency all season, and their worst and their best is so far apart at the moment that I don't think they can sustain the level that they're playing at.
Yeah, look, they don't have too many strikers, but Latrell will change that completely. If he stays fit...
If they select him in the right position.
Yeah, well, that's a big one too. Special mention, Payne Haas.
Oh.
Is he...
He's the best front rower in the game. I don't care what anyone says.
Is he the best forward of all time?
I don't know. He's got to win a comp. Has to win a comp. But he's got the makings to be the greatest forward of all time, yes.
Yeah.
How you can get the ball one pass off the ruck 30 meters out from your line and score untouched as a front rower, I'll never know. It was like the Red Sea had parted.
Just straight past him.
It was like the Red Sea parted, mate. I don't know what was going on. But good on him. He's playing well.
Cyclonic breezes as he ran past him.
And what I will say is this is all while Payne is currently in the middle of Ramadan.
Yeah,
so he's not allowed to eat during the day. So
he would have got a bit of fuel in his belly about half an hour before kickoff when the sun went down, and that would have been it.
So if he...
Mind you, no water either. So
no water during the day, correct, yeah.
Like...
So he ran for over 200 metres. I think he played 59 or 69 minutes straight. And, him and Paddy Carrigan are fast becoming the sort of best 2 front row combination in the competition, I think.
Yeah, he ran 214 metres and played 71 minutes.
Yeah, he's just a machine.
It's unbelievable.
It's almost unfair.
Yeah, that Sharks game, 27-12. Nico Hines. Hello. Welcome.
What I will say is the Sharks are going to be really tough to beat at home. They're going to be. That's almost going to be the hardest, apart from Melbourne and Penrith if they were playing in their home stadium. That's almost the toughest road trip in the game, I reckon, going to Shark Park. Or is it called Shark Park? Yeah, Shark Stadium, whatever it's called.
Shark Stadium.
Yeah, you got to play in the midst of scaffolding and in housing and whatever else there, so it's tough.
Now, next game, Dolphins Tigers, 30-18. Now, I'm just going to go and say it. The Dolphins are a joke. I hope they sign DCE because they need him badly. That their best player at the moment is Isaiah Katoa, and he can hold his head up high. I think he's been fantastic. Now, if your halfback's your best player, you'd like to think that the team's going quite well. Every single other player, apart from Herbie, who's been okay as well, should be very, very, very disappointed in what they've dished up this year. Now, I want to put the coach in the spotlight here as well. I tipped the Dolphins. This was the other tip I got wrong. 2 wrong for this. Dolphins up 18-12. They get 2 penalties. They don't take the 2 either time. About 20 minutes to go. When you're a team that's struggling and you're up 18-0, I think. Sorry, it was 18-6. And then they scored right on halftime, soft try.
Yep.
Right? And then you've got an opportunity to sort of stem that flow with about 20 to go. And you decide to not take both of those 2-point opportunities. Fair enough. Credit where credit's due. Maybe they were backing themselves, whatever. But as a coach, you go, no, you take the 2.
Yeah.
And you go up 20-12. All of a sudden that puts, the opposition in the mind frame of we got to score twice. And what happened was they didn't take the 2 and then drop the ball in the second tackle.
Yeah.
And
Karma.
Tigers go up the other field and score a try, one off the ruck.
Yeah.
Like, it was just disastrous. And the last 20 minutes, the Tigers could have scored about 8 tries.
Well, what I want to say here in this game is, the Dolphins are in a bit of strife, but we've bashed the Tigers on here, on this podcast, on our socials. A lot of people have bashed them for 3 years. Yep. But, 18-12 or 18-6, as you said, down. Previous years, they would have just dropped the bundle and it would have been all over. But we've got to start sort of sitting back and giving them credit, because if you look at the ladder, I'm pretty sure they're sitting in 4th. So I know it's only round 3, but they've won 2 and lost 1. So there's a lot of positives if you're a Tigers fan, I think. And although I don't think they'll be there in finals, I do think they're going to start developing into a really good team. I think they've got some ingredients to be a force to be reckoned with in a few years. So I want to give credit to them. I thought the Dolphins played all right, but I just thought the Tigers were just excellent. Happy Coruscant, excellent. And I just think we've got to give credit to them and focus on how well they played, as opposed to how potentially the Dolphins let one slip away.
Yeah, no, they were. You're 100% right. And they've got their spine back. There's no surprise there. They lost round 1. Arguably could have won that round 1 game against
they probably should have, yeah.
If Happy Coruscant and Jareem Buller play that game, they probably win.
Yep.
Look, they lost the first game by 2 points, and they play the Warriors at Campbelltown.
And I'm pretty sure they have the best defense currently in the NRL in terms of leaking points.
Wow. There you go.
I think they've only conceded something like 36 points.
Far cry from last year. And the crazy thing is, Jerome Luai hasn't really been that involved.
Well, he hasn't needed to be, has he? Really? He's there as a purely obviously he's a creative player, but as a mentor and a just a positive influence on the field. So
I tell you what, it does go back to the Roosters' recruitment and getting rid of Tyrell May. Seriously,
has to be more there, surely.
Dear. Anyways, look, another somewhat surprising result, but
I did.
Look, we both went. We both went the Titans. Obviously, you got perfect round, but 26-6.
This
This
is
game was closer
yeah.
than it says.
Well, this is one that I was unsure about. I stuck with the Titans purely because they're at home, and I thought they'd come out at home and play really well. I must
Mm,
admit, I was disappointed with the Knights. I was really
mm.
disappointed with them. I thought that was just lateral. The forwards lacked punch. And again, as I've said, if it's not Kalen Ponga that is creating your points, where are they coming from?
Isn't it funny because this was one of those games where Halen Ponga, thanks very much to the kicking game of the Titans,
Mm,
didn't give him much opportunities. The
mm,
kick chase was fantastic. Obviously helped by the Knights forward pack being absolutely dismal.
yeah,
Um, they are missing Leo Thompson. They're probably main enforcer there, but they won't have him next year, so they need to get used to it.
yeah.
Um, yeah, they're missing Kai Pierce Paul. They were missing Dylan Lucas, so they did have a bit out. But
They still should have put in a better performance than that. That was. I
yeah,
didn't really
I
rate the
mean
performance at all.
statistically,
They dropped a lot of ball.
dropped a lot of ball, but their possession was like relatively even. All their run
Mm.
meters and everything that was even. Like the Knights had more line breaks than the Titans and lost 26-6. Uh, they had more tackle breaks. Like the Titans missed more tackles.
Okay.
So it was kind of, the play the ball speed 356, 357. Very interesting. They had more offloads, 16-13. So like you look at the statistics and you go, geez, this was a close one. And
Yeah.
then you see Titans by 20.
Yep.
Polish was what you referred to.
Mm.
And relying on Kalen Ponga. And that unfortunately is the makeup of the Knights and has been for a
That's a
long
problem.
time.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big problem.
Um, yeah, not much more to say there, but obviously positives for the Titans. They get off the mark. Um,
Yeah, well,
they're-
it took them what 8 weeks last year to get off the mark, so they've got one away. So they'll be
mm.
definitely confident.
Sunday's games, Dicko.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Look,
Again, I want to give credit to Parramatta. I thought
yeah,
under a lot of pressure, would have been easy. Again, hostile crowd, although it was a home game. A lot of Bulldogs fans,
yeah, heaps
Bulldogs flying, playing well.
booing at Okar.
Yeah, although there was a couple out, Burton kick out for the Bulldogs.
Mm,
I thought the Eels held themselves really well, and a couple of missed opportunities, potentially. To be honest, an upset was brewing,
yeah, it was.
but to the Bulldogs' credit, they hung on and got the job done. That's what good teams do: get the job done when you're not
Yeah,
playing well.
yeah. You don't have to win pretty.
But yeah, that's right. And I definitely think that the Eels will sort of look back now and just sort of think, okay, this is the effort that we've got to put in every week, and if we do
Mm.
that, there's no reason why we can't go toe to toe with the good sides.
Yeah, I'll tell
Um,
you what, it makes obviously for next season with the Bulldogs adding Leo Thompson to the side, but they get Kikau and Burton back. Plus sort out a little bit of rotation there in the middle that they're still
mm,
not 100% across. I mean, they got probably arguably one of the smallest forward packs in the comp,
mm,
and
yeah,
they're one of the most impressive. Their line speed and kick chase pressure is unbelievable. Toby Sexton, most kick meters of all time,
really, okay,
over 1,000 kick meters.
Jesus,
So, I mean, watching the game, you sort of obviously there was no points, not many points anyway.
mm, mm.
So there was obviously a lot of back and forth, a lot of time in play. Yeah, really interesting sort of stats there. But yeah, Toby Sexton, huge. Not many sort of. It was like a really, really even game of footy.
Yeah, I
Really.
thought so too. Yeah, I thought either team, could have won. It was just
Look,
the
if the
Bulldogs
Eagles
probably
are in a more
experienced.
confident position,
They probably win that game. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But look, improvement,
yep,
improvement. Bit like the
yeah,
Cowboys.
100%.
Uh oh, geez, this last game.
This was I don't know what to make of this at the time I watched this.
Yeah,
I don't.
I struggled. I struggled to look.
I literally almost changed my tip as they ran out.
Manly won well round one,
Mm,
and then got smashed by the Warriors. Uh, they're obviously a very strong home team, and they perform well at Four Pines. Their travel is not great, but hey, they play the Eels at home again this weekend. I think they got
mm.
7 out of their first 9 games at home. So I don't know who did that draw, but I feel sorry for the Raiders a little bit here. I listened to Ricky Stewart's press conference, and for the first time in a long
Okay. Where
time,
where are we going here?
I agree with him.
In
I
what way?
actually agree with him with what he said regarding the six agains, and that it is somewhat determining the outcome of nearly every game.
Well, the six
And
agains are determined by the crowd, right?
but there's also teams who are exploiting that rule who get away with it, and some that do not. And unfortunately,
Mm.
on this occasion, the Raiders weren't. Now, there was sort of repeated indiscretions by multiple teams inside their own 20 on purpose, knowing that they're not going to get a penalty against them and it's going to be a six again. And they will repeatedly hold teams down on purpose to stop a try, knowing that they're not going to give 2 points away, particularly in a tight game, hoping that the defense will hold up. And they're quite happy to defend 3, 4, 5 sets of six. It was only until, and I can't remember which game, a sin bin was actually made on the back of repeat offences, which I believe the
Well, Corey
Horsburgh
Horsburgh. He got
inspiration
sin
was
bin.
as well. Yeah.
Corey Horsburgh got sin bin.
Now, the tries that they scored post that sin bin were that soft, it's not funny.
Mm.
But at that point, I think Ricky Stewart was saying they had to defend an extra 100 tackles, and it was only, 20 minutes in.
I think he alluded to the fact that the play the ball speeds were pretty even for both teams, yet Canberra were pinged for six again for holding down in tackles.
That's right.
So
And there was
again,
over 20 for the game.
six agains.
Yeah. And there
So
was
that's effectively penalties.
correct. So there's been multiple games this year where it's been well over 20.
You're kidding.
On 100% footy last night, Paul Gallen was alluding to the same thing. And that's the gripe that I have. Fair enough that so the play the ball speed was 359 to 352, which is actually quicker than every game that I've looked at so far. And it's now it's becoming rather than a rule, it's a referee interpretation, which it always has been, but the interpretation between referees isn't consistent.
Yeah,
and that's where it gets a bit tricky, because
but you're never
some
going to
weeks
have
you get away with it, some weeks you don't, which is normal.
Yeah, well, you're never going to have that consistency because you're not going to have the same ref in every game.
But the six again and the sin bins have such a drastic effect on the outcome of the game now, as opposed to a penalty for 2 points.
I've dead set been saying this, mate. I've dead set been saying this for 12 months. Bring a 5-minute sin bin in.
Yeah.
Because it gives you an advantage, but it also doesn't give the other team that losing a player too much of a disadvantage.
Yes.
And it won't determine the result because it's only 5 minutes. So, okay, he infringed Corey Horsburgh, right? Goes to the sin bin. He infringed professionally. He was offside. I saw it.
Yeah.
Right? Goes to the sin bin for 5 minutes. Manly are still attacking that line for 5 minutes. Right? They get an advantage.
Can I ask this question?
It's simple.
I understand the six agains for, the 40-meter line up to the 20.
So you're saying no six agains with inside 20?
Correct.
I thought I literally was thinking just before, and I was going to say
that's the
something.
rule change that I think should happen.
So you're saying every penalty inside 20 should be a genuine penalty?
Yep.
Not a six again.
Yep.
Yeah, I could get behind that, but then I just don't want a penalty-a-thon. Then it's on the onus of the referee that if there's multiple infringements,
I feel
they've
like
got to sin bin players.
That still happens. So
but the problem is that referee feels like if they sin bin a player, they create too much disadvantage to that team.
Well, at least it's 2 or 3 minutes spent on a penalty goal as opposed to repeat six agains with a man down.
Yeah. I could get behind that, absolutely. Yeah, I could get behind that.
Food for thought.
There's a couple of incidences over the weekend, that I sort of haven't spoken to you about, but there was in the Penrith game, the Melbourne game.
Melbourne and Penrith are the best at it.
Yeah, but there was a couple of instances there was a couple of talking points. Can you tell me how the referee plays advantage and the team moves at 3 passes wide and runs 40 meters, right?
Mm.
And then the play breaks down and the referee says no advantage?
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, I mean, you refer to other codes, and it's not like that. At
My
all.
wife literally sat next to me and she said, "How can the referee say there was no advantage when they decided to play on?"
Yeah, and it's 100% right. They've got this rule now because it hasn't just happened in this game,
No, I know.
and I feel like the rule is now, unless it's not actually an advantage. Like, taking advantage is your team deciding to play on, right? That's what advantage is. Not, does your team actually get an advantage from the decision to play on,
If you
right?
don't want to take the advantage, just stop.
But this is now the rule. It's almost like, once that tackle is completed or an error's made, did that team actually get an advantage from playing on? If they didn't, let's bring it back.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Like, okay. Hypothetically, this could happen, right? Let's say they played on and Brian Toto goes over the try line and drops it. Does
Yeah.
that get pulled back?
I guarantee you he would have pulled it back, no advantage.
Surely not.
That's what I'm saying.
Surely but it's getting that way. It's getting that way, which is concerning.
And
Anyway,
the other, hang on. The other thing that I wanted to say was two players trying to milk penalties. We highlighted it twice over the weekend. Trying to milk penalties by falling to the ground.
oh,
Harry Grant on Isaiah Yeo and David Fafita done the greatest dive I've pretty much ever seen on a
if you
football
haven't
field.
seen them, jump on our social. That's going off its head. I think one of them's got 800,000 views.
And this is what really frustrating me at the moment. I'm glad they let the Fafita one. They let a try. It was a try.
Yeah,
It was
a try.
confirmed
Yeah.
a try. But what I am going to say is the Raiders Manly game, Sebastian Chris scored the first try of the match, and it was denied. Right?
Mm.
I don't know whether you saw this. DCE was obstruction, they determined.
Yep.
I completely disagree with that decision. I've heard people say that it was an obstruction because he ran behind the back.
No.
The thing about it is that Ricky Stewart, Wayne Bennett, Ivan Cleary sat down at the start of the season and they wanted defenders to defend.
Yep.
Now, you can't tell me that Daly Cherry Evans was impeded just because someone ran behind the back. Okay? It's complete rubbish. It's complete rubbish. And I'm getting sick of it. Just use some common sense. The thing was, Cherry Evans couldn't move forward and tackle. When is a player ever moving forward that much? Like, I don't understand.
And would it have made a difference? No, so play on.
That's exactly right. Make him actually make a decision and defend, because at the moment they're doing what Fafita and Grant. They're just running into players and falling over. They aren't making a decision. They're making a decision to fall over.
There needs to be a rule that, like soccer, diving, 5 in the bin. That'll stop it.
Oh, it will. I couldn't agree more with you, mate.
What about Gutho last year? Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I could not agree more with you. It'll stop it. It'll stop players, and it'll actually make players go and try and actually tackle somebody. You know what I mean?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anyways, round 4. Let's get stuck into it. Rabbitohs, Panthers, mate. Thursday night footy at a core stadium. What do you like about this matchup, and who are you leaning towards?
I think this will be close. I think it'll be pretty dour contest, I reckon. I don't know whether there'll be many points in it. I'm leaning towards Penrith purely because I just can't see them losing 3 games in a row. And I just think on the back of a little bit of confidence, although they lost last week, they're going to get a full week of training with the new halves pairing, because Cleary will probably sit out most of training.
Who do you think they're going to go with? Because obviously we're recording prior to team list coming out here. Do you think they're going to go with a Trent Talau, Jack Cole, or a Brad Schneider, Jack Cole, or do you think they'll stick with Blaze Talangi?
I think they'll stick with Blaze Talangi and Jack Cole, and Dane Laurie will play fullback if he's fit.
Give Jack Cole the 7.
Yep.
Put the 7 on Cole's back.
Yeah. Put the 7 on his back. I think I really think they'd be mad not to go with that.
Mm.
And I think that they're probably Penrith are just a little bit too experienced to let this game slip. They'll be hurting after 2 losses, you know. And if they lose 3 in a row, it'll be interesting for the Panthers because they haven't been in that situation before. So, yeah, I'm expecting them to bounce back significantly enough to get the win. It'll be a really professional performance, I think, from the Panthers.
I'm a little bit on the fence with this decision as well on who is going to win this game. I think Rabbitohs on purpose will make it a scrapathon.
Yeah.
And we're going to get a massive crowd out there at a core on Thursday night. We'll probably get a good 8,000 people out there.
Yeah.
In a 90,000 seat stadium. But what I will say about this is Brad Schneider has been absolutely carving up in New South Wales Cup.
Yep.
He scored another 2 tries on the weekend. And I would like to see Penrith, if I was the coach, to unfortunately say Tom Jenkins, thank you for filling in last week, but welcome back to New South Wales Cup. I would play Dane Laurie at fullback. Blaze Talangi on the bench at 14 for coverage. I would play Brad Schneider at 7, Jack Cole at 6. That's what I'd be doing. And have another youngster get an opportunity in New South Wales Cup in that jersey to partner Trent Talau. Not sure who's coming through the grades there. Yep. And then have your rotation on the bench. That's what I'd like to see.
I think either way they go is going to be a pretty good team, to be honest. Like, I just don't know whether he'll sit. If Talangi plays on the bench and all goes well, I just can't see him getting into the game.
Yeah, well, that's the issue.
So that's
right? And
the only
he was quite
issue.
Impressive last week.
So that's the only issue I have with that. So,
and I was worried about him defensively. He was actually quite good.
He was quite good, which is bizarre. But anyway,
that's the difference going to a good side.
True.
Roosters Titans.
I can't believe so the Titans are actually outsiders in this match. Now I would have the Titans as favourites in this.
I'm tipping the Titans.
I'm tipping the Titans too. Yeah.
I can't. The Roosters have got 0 attack out of 100.
What I will say about the Titans is they don't travel well. They don't play well in Sydney, and the Roosters, they're coming back from New Zealand, aren't they? So they could be a bit.
They're coming back from New Zealand,
so they could be a little bit fatigued.
What do you make of the new combo at the Titans with Keeney, Brimson, and Campbell? Are they?
I'm undecided.
It's still a bit clunky, but I tell you what, it could be lightning. It's very attack based.
It could be, but I want to see it when they come up against a really good team.
Yeah, the Knights offered them nothing.
Yeah, let's judge that when they play the Storm or the Panthers or the Broncos or someone like that. Really good defensive teams.
The funny thing about the Titans is, which is obviously in their favour, they play the Roosters, then they play against the Dolphins, followed by Dragons, followed by the Raiders, followed by the Cowboys.
They could go on a bit of a roll here.
Yeah.
Big opportunity.
Followed by the Bulldogs at home this time.
Big opportunity.
Then the Knights again. Then the Raiders again. Seriously, when do they play someone good? Then they go on a bye.
Yeah. Big opportunity.
They could and with that run comes confidence. And when
it's the Titans, mate. They're not going to win every game there.
Yeah, well, they're not. You're right. But their confidence, particularly in attack, they might go into that shootout mode like they have in the past and gone, you can score 30 against us, so we're going to score 32 and beat you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Desi, I don't know, would be too happy about that.
No.
But look, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But lock in the Titans. Geez, I'm worried. I'm worried for the Dolphins here. Dolphins versus Broncos.
I'm not.
Suncorp Stadium.
Okay, so what is in the Dolphins' favour is that it is predicted to be very wet in Brisbane over the weekend.
And they smashed Broncos last time they played.
Starting from, yes, that's right. And that was embarrassing for Brisbane. So I expect them to respond against the Dolphins.
Katoni Staggs is back.
Katoni will play. He's been confirmed.
Mariner
to miss out.
Yeah.
I think.
Shiba. Have you been impressed by Shiba?
Oh, he was excellent on the weekend.
I thought he was fantastic. One of the best players on the ground.
Yeah, he was excellent. But yeah, the rain, I think, will play a significant part in this match because I feel like it will take away from the ball playing of Brisbane in terms of the Hunt-Reynolds combination and Walsh. And it may suit a player like Farnworth and Hammer. Quick feet in and around the forwards. So, yeah, I'm with if it was a dry track, I'd say Brisbane by how many? But with the rain, I think it's going to be close.
Yeah. Look, lock in the Broncos. It's going to be 50.
Okay.
I do you know what I will say? Adam Reynolds is congratulations, obviously, moving into third place
Yeah, all time.
all time. If he plays only 2 more years, he'll be the greatest point scorer of all time, which is insane. Provided the porcelain bunny stays fit.
I think again, Brisbane supporter. I think the Broncos would be mad not to offer him another contract, at least a year. I think they
Totally
would be
agree.
mad not to.
He single-handedly has flipped momentum in games this season purely on his both ball playing and kicking ability.
Well, they have Hunt there now for this year and next. So even if Reynolds plays 50% of the games next year on that 1 year contract, they've got cover, which they haven't had before. So I really feel like it's just a no-brainer.
You'd be shocked if they didn't.
I would be
Let's
shocked if
hope
they
it's
didn't.
not a Daily Cherry Evans.
I don't think I've read a few articles that Sydney clubs are monitoring. I think there's absolutely zero chance he goes back to Sydney, personally.
No. All right, Saturday's fixtures. Dragons versus the Storm.
Yeah. Yeah, no Jerome
I don't know
Hughes.
about you,
No
DK,
Jerome Hughes.
but
Don't
I'm
forget.
feeling a bit of a storm from the Dragons.
Oh, Oi, they are Melbourne's bogey team, aren't they?
They are Melbourne's bogey team. And, I mean, I don't know if Warbrick's fit yet.
Yeah, so we would expect Tyron Wishart to play halfback.
Yep.
Jerome Hughes to be out.
The Dragons will be really disappointed in their start. They sort of went missing for 20 minutes of that Bulldogs Dragons game round one. They only lost by 8. They lost to the Rabbitohs by 1 and were by far the best side on the day. That is probably the only, and obviously a massive part of what concerns me about them getting the job done against the Storm, who are not going to give them an inch. But if they are vulnerable, the Storm, it's while they don't have Jerome Hughes over the next couple of weeks.
So I'm different to you. I'm bullish on the Storm here. I don't think the Dragons score more than 12 points in this game. I think the Storm are going to be absolutely sprayed by Bellamy through the week. They were defensively poor at times against Penrith. I think they will be up for this. You will not see 2 performances in a row from Melbourne like there was last week. And I feel that the Dragons don't have enough points in them to even challenge the Storm, even without Jerome Hughes.
Fair enough. Look, I'm not going to lock in the Dragons to win this game. But I am going to say that
this is your chance, mate.
You could
move up the tipping.
Hey, I went with it with the Eels last week and it backfired dismally.
No chance.
Look, I'll be locking in the Storm, but this is what I'll say. If the Dragons are winning at halftime, they win the game. There you go.
Okay. All right. You heard it here first, Nostradamus fans.
Even if it's a tie at halftime, Dragons win the game.
Okay.
All right. This is going to come down to the first 20 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Storm start well, Dragons can't catch them. But if it's tight and it's a tie at halftime, Dragons are leading, Dragons go on and win this fixture.
All right. Let's see.
Let's see. Cowboys Raiders. Oh, geez.
So this is an even money bet.
I am feeling this. I am feeling some Cowboys momentum here. I am going to lock in the Cowboys to win this fixture purely on the back of how much energy was zapped out of the Raiders last week and the fact that they have to travel to Townsville in greasy conditions on Saturday afternoon and will be blowing out their wazoo. Cowboys to win.
So again, a lot of rain in North Queensland at the moment and expected to be for probably most of the week. Humid conditions. It's been humid here in Queensland, Brisbane, and up north.
Tarpany is back though. Tarpany is back.
This is the problem with our tips so early. I could change, but I feel like we're going to get a response from the Raiders. I feel like all Ricky's teams will respond accordingly. The spiritual leader's back, as you said. Tarpany comes back in. But I thought the Cowboys were impressive enough and close to a win last week. Although sort of fell away there.
This could be the biggest game of Todd Payton's coaching career. This game right now.
So yeah, I'm going to tip the Cowboys purely on the fact that it's at home. Like I can't actually separate these two teams, but purely that they're at home.
Because if
And
the
you
Cowboys
are right.
lose,
You are right. Yeah, you're right.
If the Cowboys lose this, they play Penrith next week with Cleary coming back.
Yeah.
In Sydney.
As I said, the drums are beating, mate, and I'm right with you. I think he's in quicksand and he can't get out. I don't think the players are responding to the way he coaches. They're defensively poor.
They have to win this game or he's gone.
I mean, I even think Tom Dearden's form has suffered because he doesn't have a halfback that can create.
Isn't it crazy how we were talking about Tom Dearden could take over Munster? Like, you wouldn't even consider it.
No.
And it's such a shame because he was the Kangaroos with Turbo, probably their two best
players. Yep.
And now he looks like a little school kid.
He just looks lost, mate. And it's purely the fact that they're just not sure what's going on at halfback. But, he's a good player. He'll come back. Drinkwater, I think, suffered as well. Like, I don't... So, yeah, question marks. That is a must-watch game and a big talking point next week if the Cowboys get beaten.
I'm looking in the Cowboys purely on the back of hope for them. Because if they're going to win a game, if they can't win this game, see you later.
When our basis of tipping is hope, you're in a lot of trouble.
Well, we're at the bottom, so we need to go for some upsets. All right. Saturday night footy, Sharks versus Bulldogs at Shark Stadium.
Yeah, should be a good game.
Geez, the odds here are very heavily
I just saw that
towards the Sharks. And, I mean, you're a brave person going against the Bulldogs with their start and their defensive efforts. But
I won't be tipping against the Sharks. I'll be tipping the Sharks in this game.
Yeah, you alluded to their home form.
Yeah.
I feel like this game could almost be a reality check for the Bulldogs. You've come a long way. And yes, effort gets you so far. And it also will say a lot about the Sharks in the sense of like they're coming up against, arguably another top 4, definitely top 8 side in the Bulldogs who are on the up. If they're the real deal and want to...
I'm glad you said that, yeah.
Assert a little bit of alpha and fortress mentality, they need to be winning this game and winning this game well.
Yeah, so these are the games that if you're fair dinkum about, you got to put the Bulldogs away. All right, they're missing probably their two best, 2 of their 3 best players in Burton and Kikau.
Yeah.
So you've got a real opportunity to make a bit of a statement to the competition here. They sort of failed in the first round against Penrith. They failed. They had an opportunity to make a bit of a statement and beat the reigning premiers. They didn't. And they haven't over the last few seasons when they've had opportunities to really solidify themselves as a real premiership contender. And conversely, the Bulldogs get a win here over the Sharks, who I think the Sharks have probably been the most consistent side across the first 3 weeks. Even though they have lost to the Panthers, I thought they were quite good in that game. The Bulldogs get a win here without, as I said, 2 of their 3 best players. Massive confidence there for the boys at Belmore.
Yeah, I'm going to lock in the Sharks.
Yeah.
But I actually genuinely hope for the sake of the competition that the Bulldogs win this, just for...
I think this will be close. I don't think there's going to be much in this. I think both teams are good defensively.
Scrappy? You reckon it's going to be low scoring scrappy?
I think it'll be low scoring. As I said, both teams are very good defensively. I just think the Sharks have just got a little bit more creativity at the moment with the Bulldogs without Burton and that.
Yeah.
Trindle's playing well. Nico Hines, as you said, played well.
Let me ask you this question.
Will Kennedy even played well.
If Burton and Kikau were playing, would you still go the Sharks?
I would on the basis they're at home, but it'd be an even money bet. I wouldn't. Yeah, it'd be flip a coin and see what happens.
I'll tell you what's not an even game, and that's the next one.
They're paying $6.70 the Eels. Jesus.
This could be. Tommy Turbo comes back. It's at 4 Pines. I'm a little bit worried for Parramatta.
Well, Interesting.
And I hope they show what they did the week just gone and where that leaves them at the end of the game. I don't know. Is it going to be enough to win? I don't think so.
Well,
But
this is interesting because what's the reaction going to be like at 4 points after last night?
yeah, is the players going to rise? Is
Well,
there going to be?
what are the fans going to do?
Yeah, well, that too.
You know what I mean? I heard literally on the radio in the car just before we went and started recording.
Mm.
A lot of Manly fans not happy. A lot of fans though
Are
are
they
still.
not happy with the club or are they not happy with DCE?
I think with the club,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of them were saying the DCE's got the right to do whatever he wants. He's been a
Mm.
great servant and whatnot. And but it'd be interesting to see. I'm really interested to see what sort of backlash comes of it. Whether if he's supported,
Mm.
I feel like it's. I don't think DCE's got anything to be ashamed of in terms of this decision that he's
No,
made.
not at all.
You know what I mean? He's given Manly an opportunity to recruit if they want. And he didn't want this to linger. So I genuinely feel like he's got no idea what he wants to do personally. But yeah, I don't know. If we get a bit of a backlash, I can smell a little bit of an upset. But generally what we have with teams that are down the bottom and struggling, like the Eels are,
Yeah.
is they'll put in one really tough performance, and then the next week it'll be a shambles. I'm expecting a shambles. I'm expecting Manly by how many? But if they rock up to the game and the fans aren't fully behind Manly,
Yeah.
I can smell a little bit of a sneaky upset.
Oh, the bit that concerns me about Parramatta is the Bulldogs pretty much offered zero to little attack last week and won the game 16-8, and Parramatta turned up. The Seagulls are not going to offer zero to little attack. They're going to have Hamoli Olakawadu, Ruben Garrick, Jason Saab, Lehi Hopewadi, Tom Travojevic, Daly Cherry Evans,
Yeah.
just absolutely peppering them all
Yep.
day. And could easily be 50. I mean, that's probably no surprise to a lot of people. But the depth of their forwards will be tested now without Tanella Paseka. Ethan Bullymore, I'm not going to read into that too much because a lot of those were on the back of like his efforts have been great. Like, don't get me wrong, Ethan Bullymore's been great off the bench, but you know, if he moves into the starting front row, look, it's not going to be that impressive. And I think the Eels forward pack's okay.
Yep.
And I think that's where the back line's not as good. Mind you, Zach Lomax has sort of held his own. And isn't it interesting the style that he's playing? Have you noticed that he's attacking in centre and defending on the wing?
Yep, because he can't defend at centre. I've literally said this to you before. And finally
he helps with run meters. He's almost playing a Joey Manu.
And finally, it's working. He's a winger. It's as simple as that. In kick return and
he's a winger that wants his hands on the ball all the time.
Correct.
That's what he wants to be.
So he plays wing on the fourth and fifth tackle in defence.
I can't defend / don't want to defend except jump for the high ball.
Correct.
Look, credit to Jason Rolls because I think it's great.
It's utilisation, right? It's good coaching.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a good move.
All right, Tigers, Warriors.
Yeah, interesting game. This one.
I'm on the fence.
Now this is we're only in round 4, but I've got the Warriors in my 8. Right? The Warriors do not win this game. I reckon they're in strife. You have to put this away if you're the Warriors. These are the teams you've got to win. And the West Tigers, if they're rebuilding and they're starting to watch something, this is a game they can win. This is a game both teams can win.
I think it's just one of those matches where you always get teams that are going to be teetering around that bottom half of the 8.
Yep.
Who are versing each other.
Yep.
And whoever wins those games determines on who makes the 8 and who doesn't.
So, yep, I've tipped the Tigers with zero confidence in this game.
Yeah. And I'll probably lean that way purely on the back. If this was in New Zealand, I'd go for that.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, big home ground advantage here.
There we go, Dicko. Can you make it 2 from 2 perfect rounds.
Let's hope so, mate. I am coming. I am coming.
The steam train is coming to the top. Look out.
Yeah, how good.
The D train. We love it. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great rest of the week and enjoy your round 4 footy.
Thanks, guys.